booklet is the most powerful tool I have over my table. This is a highlighted version of the Supreme Court decision in my case. Anytime, anybody, a county commissioner, or anybody else in the state, your congressman, whoever, said, oh, the federal government trumps the states and everything. Just hand them that and let them read it. It takes about 15 minutes to read this, maybe less. And you can read what the United States Supreme Court said in the only time sheriffs sued the federal government and won a case, a monumental case for state sovereignty. And there's so much amazing stuff in here, and this is part of the evidence that we're going to go over here in just a minute. Okay? But you want to get dozens of these, and you want to pass them out. Okay? You want to have... Somebody tells you the federal government trumps, just read that, please. County commissioner, what'd you say? The federal government can tell you what to do? Read that, please. No, they can't. Oh, if you let them tell you, yeah. If you acquiesce, if you don't understand these principles we just read, erecting the barriers. And I formed a group called the CSPOA, Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. And we've had 3 national conventions. And we have some of our DVD sets over at the table too. And you can see for yourself that what we've been doing is working. This isn't pie in the sky, folks. This isn't some campaign. This isn't you wait till the next election. This is something we can do now, today, tomorrow, with each other, now working with local officials to erect the barriers, as Madison was talking about, against the encroachments of the national authority. They do not own your land. They do not own your health care. They do not own your education. They do not own your water. We do. And I can tell you right now, you're going to see it for yourself as we go through this. And I have some highlighted DVD over there also. And then my first book, just an amazing book. I wrote this specifically because of the lawsuit that I filed against the federal government. And it says, from my cold, dead fingers, why America needs guns. And the simple answer to that is, because we need liberty. You take my gun, you take my freedom. You take my gun, then I'm not an American anymore. I'm a subject. I must submit. And why is it that we are, and especially me and the book, both these books, The Magic of Gun Control and this one, are so adamantly against background checks? Well, you should want everybody to get a background check, huh? Well, if I can volunteer, I might. But once you allow government to say this to you, you cannot exercise your Second Amendment rights until you submit and subject yourself to what I say is the background check adequate for you. And if you don't submit, then you don't get your Second Amendment rights. That, my friends, in law enforcement jargon, is a Bravo Sierra. Okay? Stands for BS. Okay? All right? Because they don't. They don't have that authority. They can't tell me. And what is it about the Second Amendment that we don't get? I studied the Second Amendment. I didn't know that what my chief of police, when he said only military and police officers should have guns, I didn't know anything. I thought maybe he was right. I wasn't a constitutional nut back then. I became a constitutional nut because I read the Constitution and I read what the Founding Fathers said about it, and then I became one because it was all about freedom and liberty. And I love that part. I love America. That's what sets us apart from everybody else. That government doesn't tell we the people tell the government. Just so there's no mistake. This book makes sure you and your politicians understand that in America, gun control is against the law. Do you understand? You might hate guns. You might think that the world would be better off if we had no guns. You might have a cousin or a relative that was killed by a gun. Well, it wasn't the gun. But a gun was used in the commission of some crime against one of your loved ones. So you want to get rid of guns. So no, that won't ever happen to anybody else again. Whatever the reason is, gun control is still against the law in America. It's against the law here. You don't get to have your personal opinion about it. The founders are the only ones whose opinion matter on that subject. They created it. Find out why they developed the Second Amendment, and then you can formulate your opinion about that. You can disagree with them all you want. You can. But you're wrong, they were right, and they made the law, and it's the supreme law of the land, and all public officials promised in God's name to support that and defend that. Whether you like it or not, you're bound. You're bound by solemn oath, sacred, solemn oath. You gave your word, you raised your hand, and you said you would do it. And now we have 20,000 gun control laws in America, all made by people who said that. And the Founding Fathers really got busy and said, on the Second Amendment, we want to make sure there's no mistake. So we're going to use this terminology that this particular right shall not be infringed, and it's the most infringed of all of them. Are we a little bit backwards? Just a little bit. All right, let's get into this evidence. I'm going to show you this evidence. We're going to be going into this big time. But I want you to see this. And Fran, how much time do I have left? Question and answer is 8? Okay. I might steal some of your Q&A time. All right, but no, we should be all right. We should be all right.
You know what you think about when you're lying here. You know you're going to die, and you think, that's all right. You lived a long time. You had a family that loved you. You had a job that you thought made a difference, that you thought was honorable. And then you see this. I'm afraid if I dig any deeper, no one's going to like what I find. You took an oath. If you recall, when you first came to work for me, and I don't mean to the National Security Advisor of the United States. I mean to his boss. And I don't mean the President. He gave you word to his boss. He gave you word to the people of the United States. Your word is who you are.
Okay, I can't say that any better than James Earl Jones. But this is absolutely true. And one of the first of 2 places I ever saw anybody talk about the oath of office. It was never talked about in law enforcement. I never heard it in government anywhere. Everything that I saw in the first 10 years that I was in police work was all about numbers and monies and grants and how we increase all that, how we get more toys and stuff and SWAT teams. You know, the militarization of the police force across the police community all across America, I find it very alarming. Just the years that I was in law enforcement, in 1985, there was approximately 3,000 SWAT team raids all across America. 3,000. That sounds like a lot. Now, there's 80,000 a year. 80,000 SWAT team raids a year. Yeah. Why? We have this SWAT team mentality. Do the police really believe that they work for you, that they're your servants, that they're here to protect and really serve? That's what we want them to believe, that they really are here to protect and serve. And what do they protect? The God-given rights that we were blessed with as Americans. And we're off track. all branches of government off track. How do we get it back? County by county. County by county. Now here's the requirement that we all take the oath. Did you know that the Founding Fathers put it in the Constitution that every public official, it doesn't matter who you are, they include everybody, senators, representatives, already forementioned, and the members of the several state legislatures, that includes California, and all executive and judicial officers. Okay, the sheriff and law enforcement work for what branch of government? Executive. We are the executors of the law. We're not judges and we're not legislators. So why do we all say that we work for them? We have to work with them sometimes. Would it be appropriate for a sheriff a chief of police, a cop, whoever, tell the legislatures, no, I'm not doing that one? Tell a judge, no, I'm not doing that one? Of course! They're three separate branches. The powers are divided. We work for the executive branch. We're not a puppet for the legislatures or the judges. Okay? We work for the executive branch. All officers of the legislative, executive, and judicial branch, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. Why did the Founding Fathers put it in there? Because they wanted all branches of government to be doing the same thing. Uphold, defend, protect, preserve the God-given rights that they wanted to protect when they devised the Constitution. Why did the Founding Fathers devise the Constitution? To make sure that all the abuses going on from King George III would not happen again. And then, what happened? Did they have a Bill of Rights? No. Happened 2 years later. Because some of the radical ones, Patrick Henry, Samuel Adams, said the Constitution didn't go far enough. Some of the other Founding Fathers went, oh my gosh, it was such a miracle to get this Constitution. You guys want us to go back? And they said, yeah. We must have a Declaration of Rights, they said. Something that all future generations, future polymagicians from everywhere, even in California, will not be able to make a mistake what we mean. So, if we were to do this now, if we were the people right now to come up with a Declaration of Rights today, how many would we come up with? That government could never touch, could never change. The natural rights that God blesses with would have to be completely untouchable by anybody in government anywhere. How many would we come up with? The Founding Fathers did the same thing you're thinking right now. They came up with 189. That was the original Bill of Rights. 189. Well, of course, they dwindled them down and they had some duplication and, they were overlapping each other. And they came up with 12. And then the real power in America, the 13 original states ratified 10. And they became known as the Untouchables. The Untouchables, like government. These are the 10 basic fundamental principles of liberty that government can never alter, change, or even think about legislating. For or against. They're done. They're immutable. They're unchangeable. They're eternal. They're untouchable. Like government. Well, government just quite hasn't got that, have they? And that's where we come in. And we strengthen and we buoy up these rights, and we start with the Bill of Rights, because those are the ones that are plainest. And we have sheriffs now across the country. If you look at our website at cspoa.org. In fact, I want all of you to go to that website. I have cards, but I probably don't have 500 or 400, whatever's here. Make sure you write this down and remember it, okay? CSPOA, CSPOA, okay? Whatever that is. CSPOA. I admit it has too many letters. CSPOA.org. You can look at a long list of sheriffs that have already signed on to protecting and defending the Second Amendment. And in fact, The Utah Sheriff's Association, 28 out of 29 sheriffs wrote a letter to Vice President Biden with a CC to the President. To the guy that was in the White House. And they said this: we will not tolerate the federal government coming into our counties and making criminals out of law-abiding citizens. Your gun control will be stopped. And you know why the sheriffs of this country have been standing? Because they can. And they have the authority. And they took an oath of office to uphold and defend the Constitution. And we're starting to do this. And this is starting to get traction. And we have so many amazing sheriffs that are doing things like this. Sheriff Palmer in Oregon standing up to the Forest Service and saying, no, you're not going to do this. You're not going to arrest my people here anymore. You're not going to close that road anymore. And while you're at it, could you please tell me where you got your authority? And he said it's been 10 years and he still hasn't been able to get an answer from them where their authority originates from. Because they don't have it. And we have people that can prove this to you. We've had them at our conferences, and you can see them on our DVD set. Representative Ken Ivory from Utah does a wonderful lesson to teach you and teach everybody, and he's on our first DVD set showing you that the federal government does not have control over the land and have no authority over our land. And you can read the Constitution in Article 1, Section 8, where it tells you what property the federal government is allowed to own. And it's not Yosemite. And it's not the Grand Canyon. Okay. So we're required by the Supreme Law of the land to swear an oath of allegiance to the Constitution. The question is there any evidence that we actually keep that oath? And that really where all of this boils down to. Madison said something else in his Virginia resolution. And this is really powerful stuff. Now, again, I'm showing you the evidence, okay? I didn't make up state nullification or the principle of nullification. But Madison wrote about it a long time ago. And he said this, look at this. Start right above interpose. I love that word. It's a word all of you need to know and understand. Interpose, the doctrine of interposition. What does interposition mean? Come here, John. Come here, John. Okay. You too. This is the damsel in distress. And this is the bad guys. Get over here. Of course, I'm the sheriff in the white hat. You're not going to do it to her, okay? Leave her alone, you bad guys. Sit down, get out of here. This is interpose. I put myself in the way for the innocent citizen, possible victim. And we're going to see that word again. Interpose simply means you put yourself in the way. It's a parenting technique, actually. And if you read the New Testament, you'll also see that there was somebody there who interposed for all of us. But that's another story for another time. Thanks. Interpose. So, what does Madison, the father of our Constitution, say about interposition? He said the state's legislature, look right above interpose. The state's legislature is duty-bound. It's their duty to interpose its power to prevent the federal government from victimizing its people. Oh, that never happens. We've even been told that would never happen. Oh my goodness, it's been happening for decades.